more detail about the print media. If you look at print, and here we are comparing against TV, one of the key elements for print is how the exposure builds up over time. If you look at television, the moment you have the spends, you get an immediate response. But for print, and this is specifically in terms of magazine, it takes time to build up. That's the first thing. The other thing which we have noticed, and this is based a lot on empirical evidence, the impact of a print communication depends a lot on the interest in the product field. So let's say you have a sports magazine and you want a sports manufacturer to advertise their products or communicate something about the brand. Given a similar creative, the impact is likely to be much higher if you put your ads in an area of interest. And this is based on a lot of empirical evidence collected across various markets in the world. So higher the product field interest, the much better is the impact of your communication. Now this is what we have seen in terms of print. When you go to television, there doesn't seem to be any such correlation. In the case of television, where it's a very passive medium, a lot depends in terms of the actual creative element. So if you have something which is very engaging, which communicates, something which catches consumers' attention, they will pay attention to your ad, irrespective of whether it's in the right product field. So that's a big fundamental difference between print and television. So does it mean that when you're talking about print, you always need to put your ads, your communication in an area of interest? If let's say you have a product and you put in a general magazine, is it not going to work? Well, the answer is not really. There are lots of instances, as you can see here, where ads have been placed in magazines or periodicals which is not exactly in line with the product field interest. But we have still seen very high impact. And the way to go about it is, if you have very strong creative elements, if you have something which catches people's attention, you can stop them. Of course, the best option is you have a great creative and you have it in the right area of interest. But there are instances where even if you have put in a general area, you do get strong reactions to communication. The other element which people have used for creating interest is borrowing them. When I say borrowing, what I mean is, let's say this is an ad for Shortjet. I'm sure people from UK would have probably seen this communication. Now what this ad has done is, it wants to communicate to women. So they have used a recipe as an element to create interest and build the brand into that. So you can always borrow interest and create engagement with your communication, even if it's not in the right product field area. So these are ways of creating successful communications in print media. Now having seen this, the next element to look at is customer publication. If you think about content, and if you think about engagement, one of the key elements which creates engagement. These are examples of different magazines which we have picked up. And what we have seen previously is that if you want to create engagement, key things are, you need to be relevant. So that's where the product field interest helps. you need to be innovative, and you need to be distinctive. If we have all these three elements in play, we are going to have very powerful products. And why is this important? Because ultimately, the idea of communication is to engage consumers with the brand. And we know the brands that we are engaged with, it's all about relevance, it's all about being innovative, it's all about being innovative. So where does customer publication come into this picture? Now what I'm going to do here is borrow something which we had done in the UK. I'm going to share a couple of slides in terms of how customer publication has worked in terms of building brand engagement. I'm not going to spend a lot of time, just a couple of slides in terms of key findings. And what I'm going to do here is, I'm going to share one of our proprietary tools which we use for measuring brand affinity, branding, what we call the Brand Z pyramid. This is something which we do globally, and we actually publish what we call the top 100 global brands. And this is used by a lot of financial institutions in terms of measuring consumers' relationship with the brand and the affinity with consumers' brand. It gives you a measure of brand affinity. There are essentially 5 levels to the pyramid. And the key is, it's almost like how people develop relationships. It's what we call, it's almost like a dating game. The first level, which is very important for a brand to get through, is presence. Do I know if this brand exists? The second is, are we in the same league? Am I relevant to a consumer? If I'm relevant, am I delivering on what people are looking for in terms of performance? Then the third element is, okay, you have delivered the performance. Have you built a strong affinity with the consumer? Do the consumers see you as one or two of their brands in the consideration set? So which is what we call the advantage. And finally, what is the highest level is what we call the bonding. Are consumers ready to be exclusive with your brand? And the higher the base of the pyramid, the top level, the stronger is your affinity with the consumer. And all brands would strive to be having a wider base at the top. So we said, okay, let's look at various brands in the market. And this is specifically in the context of the UK market. And see how strongly our consumers bonded with each of the brands. And what we did was, we exposed consumers, we had 2 groups of consumers. To one group, we exposed the brands among people who are readers of customer magazines. Among the other group was a more general population who had not seen or read customer magazines.